Everybody? Welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream real estate recap where we talk about everything to do with the housing market and whatever else you want to do. I got another great guest on here tonight, all the way from Arizona. Good friend of mine. She's actually been in real estate longer than me, and I've been in real estate 22 years, but she has actually been in real estate for 27 years, which is kind of crazy because she looks like she's about 30 years old, but we're going to believe her. So I'm going to bring her on in a second. We're going to go through a couple articles. First one says certain housing markets are going to plummet in value by the end of the decade. So we'll go through that. And then I have a couple other ones I want to bring up. But before I do that, let me bring on Miss Sean Shackleton to the stream. Hello, Sean.
Hi.
There's no way you've been doing this 27 years.
I have. I know. I get told that often, but no, I swear I have been doing it. And I did not start when I was 12.
I mean,
that's always the next question.
No. Okay. How's it going over there in Arizona? Because it is so cold here. Yeah. It's like ridiculous.
Well, we're all freezing and running around in cashmere sweaters, but it's like 65.
Oh, that's nice.
Because that we're all wimps. I am a self-professed wimp to the weather. I'm cold.
So I was on Sean's live stream last week and we were talking about this a little bit. I don't actually mind the cold. I don't like really, really hot. So I don't think I would do well in Arizona unless you put me in that mountain town you were talking about.
Right, in Flagstaff, right. But even there in the summertime, it gets to 90 and you're 7,000 feet. So it's really, really, you're just so close to the sun that it's really intense. So yeah, I know. Everybody lives where they're supposed to live because I love the sun. When it's 115 degrees, day after day after day after day, it does drag on and it gets hard. But then we get to weather like this, and this is when everyone wants to come here.
Yeah, well, it's here. We were so humid that it'll be like 90 degrees, but feels like 115.
Right,
and it's no bueno.
Yeah,
it's 15 degrees here in DC, says Slipping Jimmy. Yeah, you're not wrong. It is. It's literally 15 degrees here.
That's so cold.
All right, let me bring on the first article because you may be mentioned in there somewhere.
I know.
I'm going to show you. Okay. We've got, you see that okay?
Yeah.
So from Go Banking Rates, 5 housing markets that will plummet in value by the end of the decade. The U.S. housing market has been so hot for so long that it's easy to forget it can't stay that way forever. At some point, home prices will have to stabilize or head lower, at least according to the normal economic rules. In fact, some cities have already shown signs of weakness. Among those that have seen a decline in median home prices over the past year include 3 Texas cities, Austin, Dallas, and San Antonio, as well as New Orleans, Tampa, and Jacksonville, Florida, according to Tampa and Jacksonville, Florida, according to Fast Company. By the way, New Orleans had 8 inches of snow.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
These markets could see prices continue to dip in 2025. It's harder to forecast what I can't speak. Namaste. It's harder to forecast what might happen a few years down the road because so many variables are involved. An analysis from U.S. News and World Report predicted that through 2029, home prices will rise more gradually at just above the overall inflation rate. But that scenario probably won't play out the same way everywhere. Some cities are especially vulnerable to a major housing slowdown for reasons ranging from population declines and an oversupply of homes to negative economic trends. Here are the 5 housing markets that could see home values drop sharply by the end of the decade. So this is by the end of the decade, so the next 5 years. So the first one, not surprised, Austin, Texas. And the reason I say that, I'll read it. I say I'm not surprised because it was so crazy during the pandemic boom. How can it not go down? I mean, how can the local income support it? Here's what they say, and then we'll talk about it. Home values in Austin have seen only a slight decline over the past year, but houses for sale are staying on the market longer now than they used to, a sign that the market could be cooling after years of rapid growth. Austin's market skyrocketed during the pandemic, particularly with the tech industry boom, but now we're seeing prices stabilize. Levi Rogers, a real estate broker and founder of VA Loan Network, told Go Banking Rates in a recent interview. Like I said, I am not surprised.
No.
Because we got a lot of questions coming in. Hi, everybody. I'll get to them in a second.
Yeah, I feel like with Texas, though, I mean, I'm not surprised that Austin has seen some sort of a turnaround. But I bet they're like everywhere that it's very specific to certain neighborhoods.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I just know that Austin as a whole like literally went insane during the pandemic boom and got totally oversaturated. And a lot of people moved there to do remote work. And I can only imagine if they're predicting a sharp decline. Mind you, these predictions aren't always right. I can share, like, sorry, I get a little ADD when I see things. So there's a link to this article. There is, and I will actually put it in the comments if I can. Let me see if that'll work. Okay, there you go. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people move there because they work remotely, which is not happening so much anymore. But I just don't understand how the locals, how their incomes could support these inflated prices.
Well, they also had a lot of businesses move there too.
True.
A lot.
But people, it depends on how much they're making, when they move there and when they work there. Oracle is leaving Austin and has to account for something. Yeah, I think they're not the only one that's leaving Austin.
Yeah. No, I know. I feel like I've heard a few other places leaving as well. But I mean, I was always surprised at all the places that were going to Austin. And then it's all the new construction. I feel like what I saw with Austin was what we saw right before the market crash, with so much new construction. And when the builders just start building and building and building, it's not a good recipe.
You're talking about back in 2008. Yeah. So you're closer to that market than I am. So I don't have a lot of intel except for just what I've seen over the last 4 years. Like, it wasn't even on my radar, 15 years ago. Let me see. Rob says, I live in Toll Brother community. Nicely upgraded spec homes have been sitting for months. They're not selling 1 to 1.2 million price points. Where are you? Are you in Austin, Rob? Where are you? Tell us where you are. And then, maybe this is you. Boots on the ground, inventory exploded in Las Vegas. So if you're in Las Vegas, I assume this is the same person, same picture. So you're in Vegas and inventory has exploded. So maybe we'll see if Vegas is on this list. Let's get to, thank you. I saw that, Rob. Thank you for repeating it though. All right, let's get to the next one. Boise, Idaho. As go banking rates previously reported, home values in Boise continue to rise, though at a slower pace than earlier this decade. Boise could be an example of a market that can simply no longer sustain the same rapid pace of price growth. The pandemic relocation wave greatly benefited Boise since prices increased due to out-of-state buyers. Grace Chisholm, a real estate expert at Alberta Property Buyers, told Go Banking Rates. Prices may adjust to reflect the decreased local income levels when migration decreases. Exactly what I was saying before. Boise's home prices greatly exceeded income growth, rendering the market unsustainable for locals and possibly reducing demand. That's exact. I didn't read this before. I probably should have. But that's exactly what I was saying about Austin, because I can't imagine, because Boise was the other place. It was Austin, Boise. There was a couple places that you kept hearing about during the pandemic boom time and time again, and Boise was one of them. So it doesn't surprise me that, once again, the local incomes can't support the home prices. Do you know anything about Boise?
Right, I do actually, because I've got some clients that live right outside of there in Nampa. Funny, he just called me the other day because they're actually buying things up right now. They're buying.
What did they say? Did they say that it was a buyer's market?
I don't. It's not necessarily a buyer's market, but it's definitely shifted. So it's not Boise shifted. I want to say even before Austin did, from what I could see. And their market kind of really slowed down because, to your point and this article's point, they don't have a lot of infrastructure, or not infrastructure, but like jobs. So all these people that came and worked remotely, and I know a few people, they went and they moved there and to work remotely, not from Arizona, but from another state. And then guess what happened? They got called back to their job.
Let me ask you a question. And I'm not trying to sound ignorant, but I'm going to just admit that I don't know Boise, and you know better than I do. Why? What was the attraction?
It's beautiful.
Is it?
It's
is
beautiful.
It water?
Yeah, there's lakes and there's mountains, and it's beautiful. And it's a small town, kind of. I mean, now it's not really, but it's a small town where you can go and you can get acreage, or you can get a bigger house with land. And that was the thing that I heard people doing, going to like a place like Boise. Is they're like, I want my kids to have I want my kids to be outside. And if they came from LA or, New York or whatever, where they were living in like a tiny little place with no yard, they're like, oh my God, this is heaven.
But why Boise? Like what, you know what I'm saying? Like, I bet there's a lot of places like that. I mean, it must be really, really nice. Like Austin, I feel like you always hear about Austin. They have that big South by Southwest in Austin, don't they? You know, it's a big, and you know, you always hear about Austin from festivals to concerts to, you know, actors that have moved there. Sandra Bullock, I think, moved there. Matthew, I mean, but Boise, I just like it just seemed random to me. Like
Yeah,
what,
it's been a sleep. Boise and Idaho, certain places in Idaho. The developer that I worked for a while ago, we had a project in Idaho, kind of outside of Boise, and it was kind of a sleeper town, a sleeper state for a while. People like very wealthy people moving to Boise, very wealthy people having second homes in Boise. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I got to go out there.
Yeah.
Joanne Smith says, how is the Montgomery County market doing right now? I assume you mean Montgomery County, Maryland, where I am. I got to tell you, it depends on the house. Even in these crazy cold weather, a house that's priced well and shows well. There was one just around the corner for me. Got 15 offers. 15 offers. Went way above the asking price, and it wasn't underpriced. So even in our incredibly cold weather, if people are out to buy a house and the house looks good and it's priced right, they're bidding it way up. 15 offers. This is this week. So it really depends on the house. I don't know where you are in Montgomery County, but it's really house by house. All right, let's get to the
This is funny. Slipping Jimmy said maybe Boise buyers watched a lot of Yellowstone. I'm not kidding. I really do think that was some of it.
where is that? Oh yeah. Why was Yellowstone in Boise?
Yeah, some of
Montana.
Yellowstone was filmed in Boise, but some of Yellowstone was actually filmed in Utah.
But it's supposed to be in Montana.
Right.
Okay. Oh,
Right.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But I think it drove people to Montana. I think people drove it. They drove that stuff like that drove people to those areas. Yeah, it's all about space and of nature. Mm-hmm.
So are you watching Catching Up to Live? I make content on San Antonio and thinking we will make your list. Well, we'll see. You guys are fast. All about spaces of nature about Boise. Gotcha.
Right.
All right. I got to get back to the article. I'm going to get to you guys in a second. All right. Next up, Orlando, Florida. Try not to give it away before we get there. Okay. Oh,
right. Don't look.
Okay, Orlando, Florida. Typical home values in Orlando have risen to more than 2% over the past year, according to Zillow. But there are signs demand is cooling. As of September 30th, 2024, about 2/3 of home sales were below the list price. That's not uncommon, as many sellers price their homes above what they're expected to get. But it does show there are not a ton of buyers competing for homes and driving prices higher. Nick Sherwin, a real estate investor and CEO owner of We Buy 502, told GBR Go Bang Rates that Orlando might be headed for a bumpy ride in terms of the real estate market. Apart from the oversupply, many new developments are actually being aimed at super luxury houses or holiday homes, which have a tendency to fail during shifting economic seasons, said Sherwin, whose company specializes in purchasing homes, rental property, and land. Orlando's economy, to a lot of extent, relies on tourism flow. When there's a drop in the tourism sector, short-term rental investors or companies go on a price-slashing spree due to competition increasing. I'm surprised Orlando is on this list.
Oh, really? I'm not.
Of the five, just of five that's going to plummet? Really? Tell me.
Well, I think that Orlando is so big. And I think that I think that's one of the things that people have been doing. So like, I don't want to live in a really, really big city anymore. And if they can, they'll move out of it. And I think that there's a lot of things coming to Orlando. So I mean, it's living through that construction and all that. I don't know. I mean, Florida's been hot. I'm not saying anything about Florida. I mean, but I've got 2 buyers right now that are leaving Florida, coming to Arizona.
I mean, Florida's mixed depending on where, but I always, like it said in the article, I always think of Orlando as, you know, a big tourism place. So I could see why it would shut down originally after the pandemic. But now that things are back to normal, I would think people are back traveling. There's a lot of money in this country right now. I would think that it would still be doing really well. I'm just, you know, it mentioned at the beginning of the article, some cities that they think is going to go down, but these are the 5 they think that, you know, home values are going to plummet before the end of the decade. I was surprised to see Orlando on this list.
I don't think their prices are plummeting.
You think that they're wrong. You don't think that they know what's going to happen.
Right. Are you saying that they're not being honest?
Let me, I kind of ignored you guys in the chat. Let me see what's happening over here before we go on. San Antonio is burnt toast. Okay. Don't think the person from San Antonio would agree with you. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. Catching up. Is that the same person? Different. I make a content in San Antonio thinking we'll make your list. Dara. Hi, Dara. Same here with the townhouse up the street in Reston. Oh, when in multiple offers, way over. Well, Reston's a hot area too. But we're going to get you over to Maryland. Let me see. German. I don't like what I'm seeing, especially the foreclosure. Was that about Vegas?
I think he's referring to San Antonio, maybe.
San Antonio or Vegas? Dara, how do you like Reston? Let's see what she says. Reston has changed a lot. Many luxury high-rise condos and apartments. It's not the walkable community it used to be 30 years ago. And she wants to come to Maryland. Don't talk her out of it. Reston has great walking paths, but I just don't like the change in direction. And then we have, to me, it's the wild amount of spec homes relative to population. I posted one with 200K price drop. It blew up and got a lot of attention on X, Nick something, and Amy Nixon both liked it. I'm lost a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. Nick is synonymous with prices are crashing, and Amy is pretty doom and gloom as well.
Oh, okay. But what does he say? It's the wild amount of spec homes relative to population. This in any particular area?
I think he's back referring to San Antonio.
Oh, we're still okay. Gotcha.
I think
you're right, because I'm looking up to do all these things at once.
I know it's a lot.
It's a thank you, Sean. It is a lot.
It's a lot. I know. I get it.
I need one of my kids to come home from college and like do the tech stuff so I can just like do my thing. But for now, we're just going to keep going. All right, next on the list, Sean.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
Phoenix, Arizona. Like Boise, Phoenix is still seeing a rise in home values, but also like Boise, Phoenix could be vulnerable to price decreases as the pandemic boom keeps easing. During the pandemic, Phoenix saw a spike in the number of institutional investors purchasing real estate, which caused prices to rise, Chisholm said. These investors might start selling off properties when interest rates rise, oversaturating the market and lowering prices. Arizona's persistent water shortage problems may discourage potential newcomers and investors, which would lower the market for housing in the area. What say you, Ms. Jackson?
Well, they're a little late because all the institutional buyers have already sold off all their properties.
Really?
Yeah, it already happened. It happened like 2 years ago.
So what's happening now?
So they're not buying.
But what's happening with the market now? I mean,
our market's it's holding steady. But I mean, I think we're just like everywhere else. If your house is good and it's at a good location, it's selling and sometimes getting multiple offers. If it's not, and you're asking top dollar for it, then it's sitting.
So you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Total mixed market, even within the same neighborhood. So it's interesting. So I'd imagine there are other markets, maybe because Phoenix is such a big city and Scottsdale where you are.
Yeah, we're huge.
And where I am in DC and right outside DC, also very populous. But I imagine there are places and markets in our country where it has really shifted. I know I've had different guests on and different viewers that have said where they are. In fact, whoever's watching from Vegas, tell us what's happening in your market, because I imagine Vegas is also a big city, but I imagine there are markets where there's a shift. I mean, a real shift into a buyer's market.
Well, we shifted into a buyer's market towards the end of last year. We were there for about 6 weeks and we're out of it. We don't sit in a buyer's market for long. And the last buyer's market that we were in was 4 weeks.
I don't get it. The whole place went into a buyer's market for 4 or 6 weeks?
No. Well, overall, if we looked at the overall market in Phoenix, we were in a buyer's market for 4 weeks and then we were out. And this last time at the end of last year, we were in a buyer's market for 6 weeks and we were out. And now there are certain cities within the overall Phoenix area that were not in a buyer's market. Like when you drill it down into the cities, that we were not in a buyer's market. We were still in a seller's market, like Chandler, Scottsdale, Gilbert, all those cities kind of in the suburbs, they were not in a buyer's market. They were in a seller's market.
So let me ask you something, Sean. When you say like we were in a buyer's market, you're going purely by the data, or you're going by
the data?
Like, nobody's buying, we're seeing houses on the market.
Purely by the data.
Okay. Got it. Because the data, I think sometimes can be a lag,
We look at it
depending.
differently than a lot of people because we have a specific report. And so I look at the Cromford Market Index, which is specific to our market. We analyze the market every single day. And so we take that data. There's two different measures that I look at. So one is the Cromford Market Index that is, seasonally adjusted. The other is the contract ratio, which is not. So it bounces around a lot faster. But when we look at it's really accurate.
Oh,
Really
good.
accurate.
Okay. So it's all current, because some
Yeah.
data, when you look at it, like when you look at the big guys like the Redfins and the Zillows and all their data, there's a big lag between
Right.
when things have closed, when they've gone under contract, and when they were listed. And so you have to really adjust your mindset when you're looking at the data to
Totally.
figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
All right. So that is the last one.
And no, we're not running out of water either. Just throwing that out.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is there a water shortage there?
So the big news was they put this out, I think it was a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, is that there was big headlines that Arizona's running out of water. There's one small place, and it's not far from where I live, that everybody there is on well water. You're either on a well or you're on hauled water. Well, everyone that was on hauled water, the city of Scottsdale, which is who supplied them their water, the city of Scottsdale said, you're going to have to find a new water supply company because we're not going to supply water for you anymore. We need to keep it for the residents of the city because they're in the county. And they didn't do it. Well, some of them didn't do it. And so then they ran out of water. And so it's this big thing saying like, oh my God, we ran out of water and we didn't know. They were given like a year in advance notice and they didn't do it. Super long story short, they made an agreement with the city of Scottsdale. They're now getting water from the city of Scottsdale. So no, we did not run out of water. It's just like all of the other Southwest states, right? That do we need to conserve water? Yeah. And the city of Scottsdale does a lot. They've taken out all the grass. They've done like xeriscape and all that stuff to help conserve water. But we also have one of the most advanced water treatment facilities like in the state or in the nation here. So we don't lose a drop of water.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to know because you live there.
I know. I have water.
The last market they think is going to plummet by the end of the decade, in the next 5 years. San Francisco, California. San Francisco has been the poster child for skyrocketing home prices in the United States, with a typical home value of more than $1.26 million, according to Zillow. While there is still heated competition for homes in San Francisco, that could change as more people flee the area. Everyone's fleeing every area. Due to the high cost of living and remote employment, which allows people to move to more affordable places, the Bay Area has seen a fall in population, Chisholm said. Similar to Austin, San Francisco is susceptible to job losses and lower investment due to its reliance on the technology sector, which impacts housing demand and affordability. San Francisco is so expensive. Have you been there?
Yeah.
I had a friend that used to live there. I mean, it makes where I live in DC area and even like New York, like San Francisco is brutally expensive. I don't see San Francisco market plummeting just because there's so much money there. I mean, it's so close to wine country. It's so close to, all the tax people, I don't know where they're getting information from.
Yeah, I think I think that there's businesses that have moved out of San Francisco. And so it has allowed some of those people to move and change their overall location. But I mean, I agree with you. It's expensive.
It's really expensive. And as far as the other markets,
it could, but it's still going to be expensive.
Right. So, I mean, it would be nice if the price went down a little bit. As far as the other markets, if you're just joining now, that they said we're going to see a decline. They said Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, New Orleans, Tampa, and Jacksonville. But they didn't. Those weren't the 5 plummeting markets, but those are the ones they mentioned. I do have another article that I thought was relevant to bring up, since we just had the inauguration here, which was tons of fun for everybody involved, freezing their
I heard
off.
the traffic was atrocious.
I didn't even go into DC. I'm about 20 minutes outside of DC. I did not go in, but my better half had to work it and stand outside for about 20 hours. And he was not happy at all. He said it was the coldest he's ever been.
Wow.
Okay. This is not a political channel, so don't come at me with politics. This is about the housing market. So it says the housing market under Donald Trump, what it could mean for buyers, sellers, and renters. So let's just see what they're saying. Let's just see what a Trump presidency may mean for home buyers. Mortgage rates will likely stay put. Buyers should expect mortgage rates to remain elevated and volatile for the foreseeable future. Following the election, mortgage rates surged around 7% in anticipation of Trump's policies, where they will likely remain through 2025. However, everything hinges on what Trump decides to do. Trump has plans to impose tariffs, reduce taxes, and eliminate inflation, all of which influence mortgage rates. Mortgage rates and inflation are particularly intertwined. Experts fear that tariffs may reignite inflation and slow global economic growth, although Trump recently backed off imposing them on day one. Inflation has steadily dropped from its 2022 peak, but could reverse course if Trump follows through on his agenda. Tax cuts would also increase the national debt unless they were offset by spending cuts. Investors have already baked expectation changes into today's mortgage rates, but if inflation rises more than expected, mortgage rates would probably follow suit. Trump has also promised to lower interest rates, which affects mortgage rates. However, since mortgage rates are set by the bond market via investors, it's largely out of his control. Sorry, Mr. President. Investors believe that if Trump implements his policies and the economy stays strong, the Fed will only cut interest rates once in 2025. However, if the economy weakens or the plans for tariffs and tax cuts are dialed back, the Fed could cut more and more, mortgage rates could fall. In general, the housing market will be unpredictable. Oh, gosh. There's just so much. I'm going to just take it off for a second so I can talk to you, and then I'll bring it back on. First of all, what's your reaction to that part of the article?
Well, I think it's what everyone's been saying for a while now. Interest rates are going to stay higher longer. What the housing market's going to do, we're really unsure.
And quite honestly, and it's not about politics, no president controls interest rates. None.
No.
I don't care what party you're in. None.
No.
A president cannot say lower interest rates and then say, by the way, now that you've done mortgage people, lower your interest rate. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It's largely reflected based off of the job report, and inflation.
And the 10-year treasury.
And the 10-year treasury. Yes. And right now, it was funny, after I was on Sean's live stream last week, and we were talking about Arizona a lot and the different towns in Arizona, and you were talking about vacation homes and stuff. So I don't know what, you put a bug in my head. So now all of a sudden, Robert and I are going to Delaware this weekend to possibly buy a second home. So I was looking at interest rates, and they're over 7%.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, 800 credit score and everything else, all ducks in a row, and they're still 7%, and it's just, it really makes you realize, it's one thing when I help all my clients, buy and sell, and I know what's going on because they tell me and I see what they're getting. But when you start to experience it yourself, like what a difference it makes, that monthly number, depending on the interest rate you get, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, I look at it and I think back to when my husband and I bought our first house at a 7% interest rate. And my father-in-law telling me that it was the best interest rate we're ever going to see. Lock the rate. We're never going to see interest rates get that low again.
Yeah. I think when we bought our first, it was in the 6s. It wasn't quite 7. It was in California in the 6s. And then when I moved back here, I got a 6. And I'm so sorry about sniffling. It's the weather. It's cold. It's hot. I apologize. I know it's annoying. I'm annoying myself, if that helps at all. Just brutal. So yeah. And I remember we got 6 right when we got here. And then as time went on, they went lower, and I refinanced. I think I've refinanced 3 times in the 19 years I've been here. The last one in 2021. So that was a good one. Let's see what we got going on over here. Tacoma, Washington. Did I miss something?
I don't think so. I'm not sure if they're watching from, or
is that a buyer's market out there? Tell us more, sports fanatic. Oh, prices around here will never go down. Interesting. Why? Tell us more why you don't think they'll ever go down. And Florida, insurance in Florida. Yes, insurance in Florida is brutal right now. Insurance everywhere, guys. What's happening in California with the fires. I mean, you can only imagine.
You're untouchable.
Yeah, but that's going to affect the whole country. I mean, it doesn't just stay in one location, whether it's a hurricane, in one part of our country or fires in another. insurance rates, in my experience, get affected everywhere. I think because the different companies, have so much to pay out, they have to raise everything else. Simple economics. All right. Let's get back to see what this article's saying. Okay. Home prices may rise. Redfin expects house prices to continue to rise through 2025 as there may not be enough inventory to meet demand. Prices have hovered near record highs for months, leading to record low affordability and few sales. However, prices may fall in places most affected by climate change. Trump has pledged to lower housing costs by building more homes. He wants to encourage home building by reducing regulations, extending his 2017 tax cuts, and opening federal land for development. Reducing regulations will likely help improve supply, but Redfin believes these proposals won't fully address the current affordability crisis for 3 reasons. Local regulations, not federal ones, control much of the building process. The TCJA reduces tax benefits for home ownership, hurts the economy, and benefits the highest earners. Opening federal land for development will only make a small dent in bringing down prices, partly because most federal land is in the West. I kind of agree with everything they're saying. The bottom part, anyway, not the top part.
Yeah.
What you have any opinion on
Well,
home
I
prices?
mean, I don't think, I know everybody wants prices to come down, home prices to come down, but I don't, the reason that our home prices came down drastically the last time is because we had an oversupply and then we had bad loans.
Yes.
And so I don't understand how people are thinking that prices are just going to drastically drop, kind of out of the blue, So do I think prices are going to keep going up? I do in some areas and for some houses, but I don't think we're going to see what we saw. I think I think what we saw in the last few years was kind of akin to what we saw in 2008. It was kind of an anomaly in some ways, like how fast and how quickly the home prices went up. But it's normal for your house to appreciate at the rate of inflation, or maybe a little higher than the rate of inflation. So I think we're going to continue at that. And maybe sometime for the next few years, maybe home price appreciation will come right under the rate of inflation, but it's still going to appreciate.
I agree with you. I mean, I can see home prices going down, like I said, in those oversaturated markets that were overpriced, but not down below 2020 prices, just down below the peak, because they, like I said, the home prices, they can't support, the local incomes can't support them. I also agree with you that it was, it was a pandemic.
Right.
It was a crazy thing that happened. Back in 2008, that was manufactured by bad loans, which caused a lot of people to buy homes they couldn't afford. And when they couldn't afford it anymore, they just walked away. So then you get this, dilapidated inventory that nobody wants, and the banks take them over. Then you foreclose, and it trickles. Also, so much inventory that needs to be sold, so prices come down.
Right.
And that's what happened before. It was because of these really, really bad people that lent money to people that couldn't afford them. Just be honest. This time we had a pandemic. I mean, who thought that we'd have a pandemic in our lifetime? I certainly didn't.
No.
I still I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but I still remember wearing masks everywhere, being kind of scared. Somebody got COVID. You were like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I mean, it was scary.
Yeah.
And then everything froze. We were still essential workers, you and I, at least we were here.
We were here too.
Yes. Nobody knew that, but we were. So we were still, helping people out. And then the floodgates opened. And people wanted to get out of cities. I'm near a major city. I know you are. So they want to get out of DC where I am and come into the suburbs of Maryland and Virginia. So all of a sudden, the trend changed. And all these homes that were, everyone wanted to get close to the city. All these homes in the suburbs were going way up in value. Everyone wanted, outdoor space. Between this perfect storm, home prices went crazy. And then because the government tried to stimulate the economy by reducing rates to the point where money was practically free. And don't forget, gave away a lot of money. A lot of people got checks in their mail with the president's signature on them. Here is some money. All the PPP loans out there, people got a lot of money. So you give people a lot of money with cheap money to borrow. What's going to happen? They're going to buy stuff and they're going to buy homes.
Right.
And they did. And that went on for about a year. Would you say?
I maybe a little long here, probably a little longer.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Year
was
and a
crazy
half.
for a long time
Was
here.
it?
Yeah, a long time.
So I like I said, it really depends. I don't remember now. It's like, oh, I feel like 2020 now is like 1 year, I
Yeah.
like seriously, like the pandemic just put it all into like 1 year.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was like insane for maybe a year and a half, maybe longer. I could be wrong because honestly, I really feel like it's all been 1 year. But now in our spring market now where I am, it's kind of back. Like I said, 15 offers on this house in Potomac, Maryland. It's a fine house. It's not a new house. It's a 1970s house, priced at, I think it was priced at 1.1 million, 15 offers, and this is this week when it's 10 degrees outside and icy. I just can only imagine what's going to happen in the next couple months, but then there were other houses on the market that were sitting. So
Right.
it is crazy. Yeah. Couldn't find toilet paper. Oh my gosh. So quick sidebar from the housing market. I'm one of those people, I don't know if you are either, we both have kids, whatever, that I would go to Costco and every time I went, I would just buy bulk everything, bulk toilet paper, bulk paper towels, bulk paper plate, anything I could just bulk. Cause I've got kids and their friends and like, you just always want a lot of everything. So when the pandemic hit, I was like a store. I had so much stuff that I was like, I was like delivering it to my clients. Like, here's hand sanitizer, here's paper towels, here's toilet paper. It was wild.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
we bought a little bit. We bought a little, so we had extra, but I wasn't like going bananas.
No, I always do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No.
That
Yeah.
wasn't just because of that. That's like just my normal way of
That's
shopping.
funny. So it
Like
was like nothing different for you.
yeah, like once I go to Costco, like I don't walk out of there with less than like truckfuls of stuff because I don't like shopping, So yeah, so I did okay, but I helped out a lot of people. I didn't
That's
hoard
good.
it all. I
That's
definitely
good.
gave back. It was pretty interesting. And people knew that I do that. So they're like, "Do you have any extra?" I'm like, "Sure. What do you need? Just come get it." All right, let's see what else they're saying. Let me know if there's anything going on in the chat that I need to address.
I think we're good. I think we're caught up.
You can be my
Doing great.
helper. Okay, thanks, John. All right, demand could come back. Homebuyer demand has been low for most of the year, but it notably increased before the election on the heels of 2 Fed rate cuts. And defying expectations, it rose again following the election and into 2025, even with elevated mortgage rates, sky high house prices, and a murkier outlook. Pending U.S. home sales also are creeping back up, and Redfin's homebuyer demand index recently hit its highest level since 2023. Interesting. Demand seems likely to hold strong this year, so now may be a good time to enter the market and get ahead of the competition. That's interesting because I believe this is a national statistic, Redfin's homebuyer demand index, and it hit its highest level since 2023. I find that really interesting. So people, it may be that what we were talking about last week on your live stream, that the whole interest rate fatigue and I got to tell you, like when I was looking today at the rate, the bottom line is I looked at Robert and it was like, it's really not about the rate. It's about what it's going to cost us a month. Let's just look at that number. I feel like people are starting to get interest rate fatigue. That's like, if they want to make a move, whether they wanted to downsize or upsize or move, they're like, it is what it is. Just tell me what the monthly number is and let's move on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and I think that it's funny. Trying to think back here, at the end of last year, right at the end of last year, like December, right at the end of the year, we started to get busy again here. Before that, we weren't that busy, even with the rate cuts, with the Fed rate cuts, because the interest rate had gone up. So
do you think it was just waiting till after, sorry, I didn't interrupt. Do you think we're waiting until after the election or what? Why December?
No, I think that, because I mean, it was December. So it wasn't, I think that we had some new inventory that came on the market. And I mean, well, I take that back. Some people, I think, were waiting until after the election. They just wanted to see what was happening. Yeah, it was interesting because it wasn't that it was slow and nothing was happening. There were still things happening, but definitely in December, it got much busier than it had been October, November.
Is December a good month for you guys though? I would think with the weather. It's not?
No. Not historically. We sold more homes in December last year than we sold, like by a lot. We saw the year before in 2023, I think in December, we sold like 49 homes. And this, again, there's a big chart, whatever I look at, but so like 3 million plus homes. There were like 49 homes in 2023 that was sold in December. And last year 2024, they were like 79.
Why?
Significant jump. Great question.
Do you
We're
have a
not
lot of
sure.
cash? Do you know? Is
A
that
lot
a
of cash.
metric you guys can
Yeah. A lot of cash.
so do you think it wasn't interest rate related at
No,
all? Do you think
no.
interesting.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I actually had a busy December as well. Personally, I was just very, very busy, but some of my colleagues were not because usually it slows down here between Thanksgiving and New Year's. But I had people buying in December too. I
Yeah.
wonder, for me around here, I think it was an election, a reaction to the election. Like, fine, it's over with, we're done, let's move on, and then back to business.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine where I am in the DC area, things get a little congested around election time and
Sure.
now around inauguration. So if everybody's on the road, there's a lot of traffic. No one else wants to be on the road. Us
Right.
that live here, it's like we don't want to deal with that. Add in some cold weather to it and some snowstorms, and it's good times all around.
Right.
So are you guys busy now? When is your busiest time?
Right now. Right now. Yeah. January through April, May is when we sell the bulk of our houses for the entire year because our weather's so good. Everybody wants to be
Right.
here.
Yeah, until it gets 115 degrees in the summer.
Mhm.
And then do they call you, okay, ready to sell?
Well, no, I mean, it depends on the price point, right? Because in our, just kind of average mid price ranges that we still have things on the market and people still move. But in most cities where everyone's like, oh yeah, during the summer when all the kids have off, that's when our season is. That's not our season.
Not
Because
for us
everyone's
either.
out of town.
Yeah, neither for us. Neither for us. I don't know if that's proper English. But our strongest selling season, and I guess then buying season, can start as early as January, depending on the weather. Like I said, right now it's not so great, but we've had really warm Januaries, and it'll go till about June. And schools get out in the middle of June here, public schools.
Okay.
And then it tends to slow down in the summer. You think it wouldn't. You think a lot of people want to move during the summer to get into schools, but kind of like what you're saying, a lot of people go away. A lot of, kids go to camp, people take vacations. It definitely slows down. Will slow down, speed up in the summer. It's weird,
Yeah.
and then right after Labor Day, it'll pick up again for our fall markets. And like I said, after Thanksgiving, it tends to slow down, but this December was busy for me too.
Yeah. We just don't have a normal seasonal market.
Do you guys have a lot of inventory right now?
Our inventory is up right now. Well, I should say up from the pandemic, but not up like super high. But
Okay.
we have a decent amount of inventory. But here's the thing, right? We have a decent amount of inventory, but in some of the areas that people want to be, the inventory is really low. So it really is dependent upon where you want to be. So then it becomes, good houses come on the market and they're gone.
Are they gone? Do you get to do inspections, or are they like?
Oh yeah,
gone?
no. You're still doing inspections. You're still doing all that, but you might be competing against a few other offers, and you're probably paying list price, maybe a little over.
Oh,
But
so
probably
see,
list
that's the
price.
difference. You get to do inspections and probably paying list price. Here, people are waiving everything still, and you're going way above list price.
Yeah, even during the pandemic, at least for me, never did I have a client once waive their inspection. Did they say that we'd buy it as is, but still do the inspections and have the ability to back out if there was something big that came up on the inspection? Yes, but never did I have one buyer. I wouldn't let them. I just don't think it's a wise idea. You cannot buy a house without doing an inspection.
So what we do here, and I don't know if you do it there in Arizona, but what we do here is we do pre-inspections, which means so normal inspections like 3 or 4 hours, and could be, well, that just depends on the size of the house. Let's just say it's $700. A pre-inspection would be 1.5 hours and $350, so half the price. Like I said, depends on the size of the house. And you would do it to walk and talk, same inspector, same set of eyes. You do it before you write the offer. So the seller has to allow it. We go in, we do a pre-inspection, looks at all the big things. If somebody has a sensitivity to mold, they'll bring their moisture meter. It's the same inspector. They'll address anything the buyer wants them to address, and they'll go over it. But they're not going to look at cosmetic stuff. They're not going to write a report. It's all walk and talk. You can record it if you want. And then if the buyer wants to move forward, they write an offer waiving the inspection because they've done it.
Right. But how do you do that if you've got multiple offers? Like, how do you get in the house to do a pre-inspection?
If the seller allows it, sometimes there's 3 or 4 going on at one time.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, lots of sellers put their homes on the market like on a Thursday, and they'll look at offers on Monday. So it gives the whole weekend. And if they'll say pre-inspections welcome, and that gives the whole weekend for somebody to book. Remember, you can only do it for an hour, hour and a half. They won't let them book 4-hour inspections.
Yeah, got it.
And they won't let them take the house hostage. Usually they'll allow overlapping. So sometimes you're like, hi, Hi,
Right.
two inspectors, they all know
You
each
can
other.
meet your competition face to face.
For me, like you said, the most important thing is to have my clients have a set of professional inspector eyes on the
Yeah.
house. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
doing this a long time like you. I see a lot of stuff, but I'm not an inspector.
Exactly. I can tell people, I'm like, yep, that's going to come up. That's going to come up. That's going to come up. But it's still, I'm not climbing on the roof or getting in the attic.
Yeah. But they were waiving inspections, but not every buyer nor every real estate agent around here knows about pre-inspections. So some of them
Yeah.
were just
We don't.
waiving
Yeah.
it
It's not,
because,
we don't do that.
yeah, but you don't waive inspections either,
No.
which is interesting. Here, you wouldn't get a house. You had an inspection. Contingency. You just wouldn't get it. You might as well
Yeah.
not even bother. Rob, that's really any market that was the same during the financial crisis. Good areas still sold. Still doesn't mean it's a seller market. Just depends. No, it doesn't. If you're going purely by the data and how many months of inventory there are in a certain area, that will tell you whether it's a buyer's market or seller's market. We're talking about we're boots on the ground. What we're seeing in our markets, I would say where I am in DC and the suburbs of DC, although DC is very different than the suburbs. So let's just talk about where I am actually, which is in Montgomery County, Maryland, right outside of DC. I would say, if somebody asked me what it is, I would say it's still a seller's market. I can't tell you what the data says, but I can tell you from what I'm seeing, there may be some homes that are overpriced that are sitting on the market, but it's still a seller's market. Those are just people that aren't very smart. All right. Let me get back and see what else this thing says. Okay. Housing supply may slightly improve. Supply may improve if Trump lifts building regulations, which currently add an estimated $94,000 to the cost of a new house. The National Association of Home Builders has expressed increased confidence that under a Republican Congress, development may be easier. We would need to see actual regulation change for this to prove true. New construction has slowed down recently, but fewer regulations could bring some relief to the industry. Estimates suggest there is now a shortage of between 2 to 5 million homes for sale. Damn, that's a lot, which is driving up prices. Aside from deregulating the industry, though, Redfin senior economist Chen Zhao believes Trump's immigration policies, specifically his calls to restrict border crossings and perhaps start mass deportation, could reduce the construction workforce, making it more expensive to build homes. Trump has already signed an executive order attempting to limit immigration. About a third of construction workers in the U.S. are immigrants, and nearly 14% are undocumented. His plan to build homes on federal land could help, but has been met with mixed reviews. There's a lot going on even in these three paragraphs. I do think, and I want to hear what you think as well, I do think if they lift some building regulations, I want to know what they are. What is the $94,000? What is that? Is it just like, because on the one hand, where I live, for example, I'm in the state of Maryland, in the county, Montgomery County, and then I'm in the city of Rockville, and I'm in Potomac. And if every single person has their own like restrictions and regulations, but they're really duplicating each other, they're just making you pay more for this and this and this and this, then I wholeheartedly agree that lifting some of these regulations is a good thing because some of them are redundant. However, if it's just lifting building regulations, which then make it unsafe or questionable, then I don't agree. I mean, I think you'd have to see what these regulations are, what they consist of. I guess I think they say that we need to see what the regulations are to see if it's true. As far as the federal land that they were talking about building on, my impression is that that's mostly out west and very far from any commercial areas. So they'd have to find a way to not only build there, but then also build the commercial part or facilitate transport to a more commercial area to sustain the homeowners.
Yeah. I mean, we have federal land here and it's been sold off to other developers. So could it work? The problem is that land is really expensive. And like, that's what we find here. People ask all the time, because like in Scottsdale where I am, there's not a lot of new construction. And if there is some new construction, it's usually smaller projects. And the land is so expensive to build what people are looking for. You're now $2.5 to $3 million for kind of like a tract home.
Wow.
Yeah. Mhm. And the land is super expensive.
Is there a lot of land like in Phoenix, like outside of where you are?
That's why the whole Metro Phoenix area is growing out because that's where the land is.
Right.
So like we now have like Peoria was a city for a while. Now you've got North Peoria that's exploding, right? New construction. You've got Queen Creek that's exploding, and then it goes into Santan Valley, and then you've got out in Buckeye, and that's basically like East LA. It's starting to get so close.
How
But
far a commute would that be for people that are working in the city? The places
well,
that
so
you're
that's the funny thing, right? Is that we have a lot of different employment corridors all over the Phoenix area. So people here don't all go into the city to work. They go to different places around the valley, and that's the employment corridor there. And there's the employment corridor there, and so that like in North Peoria, the TSMC, which is a Taiwan semiconductor plant that is being built, is now starting. They're building a whole nother plant that's going to employ thousands of people, from my understanding. Some of them are going to be manufacturing jobs. Some of them are going to be some higher paying jobs, like engineer jobs. And those people need someplace to live. There are thousands of homes that are coming out there, and it's just open land. So that whole area is going to change drastically.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah, it is good.
Depending on what they build, I guess. Are they building
it's home builders that are buying the land and building homes that the people that out there can afford.
Okay. Well, that's
I would say this. They're building homes out there that are in the lower price points, but they're probably going to be around 500,000, 500 plus.
Well, let's hope the jobs, that their salaries are enough.
Maybe some that are a little bit lower to help out with some of that. But some people probably, again, you can go a little farther south to buy a little bit older of a home, and you can find something that's a little bit more affordable.
Yeah. Like we had Amazon move to Northern Virginia, right across the river from where I am. But there's no place to build. So I don't know. I don't know where they're all going to live. How's the rental? I don't work in rentals, so I don't really know that market. Do you? I don't know if you know yours.
I don't work in rentals either, but we track it because tracking the rentals is also another way to kind of track how the market is moving. And our rental market got really oversaturated because we have a lot of short-term rentals, Airbnbs, things like that. And the occupancy there started to really decrease. And so the people that owned them had to do something for income. So they would turn them into midterm rentals if they could. So they would get less than what they would get as an Airbnb. And if they couldn't do midterm, then they'd turn them into long-term rentals, and they'd get even a little bit less, but hopefully they would just at least cover what their expenses were.
Right.
So it really kind of oversaturated our rental market. And so our rental prices started to come down.
Yeah. I can imagine where you are, there'd be a lot of Airbnbs and business and stuff like that because of the weather.
Yeah.
I think I told you last week when I was at University of Michigan, which was also very cold. Our sophomore year, we literally, I'm going to age myself, but there was no internet, I don't think. So we literally took out a map. It was like, where's the cheapest, warmest place we can go? And it was Arizona. So that's the only time I've been there. Went to Phoenix and Tucson, both colleges, went to visit friends at either one, went camping in between, and it was a good time. It was fun.
Well, that's one of the biggest complaints for people that used to come to Arizona a lot. They're like, Arizona used to be affordable, and we're not that affordable anymore. But that's why some of the homes like in the outlying areas, that kind of feeds that need for homes that are a little bit more on the affordable side. And they're brand new homes, and the cities are beautiful. The infrastructure they're building is amazing. So, it's a good option for people, but if they want to live closer in, that's where it becomes challenging.
Yeah. Where I am, there's new construction being built a couple minutes from me, but they start at like 1.4 million townhomes. Yes. So it's like, okay, that's all it's going to me, all that says is more traffic.
Yeah.
Like, why are more people moving here? It was literally a parking lot of a gym that they're now building brownstone townhouses starting at 1.4 million. As far as other more affordable new construction where I am, you have to go a little bit further out in the county or to a different county. And then it's still $650, maybe the cheapest townhome, out to the, further out in the county. It's just a very expensive area that I live in. If you go further in Maryland, it's totally different. But where I am, which we call the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, right at DC and right outside of DC, it's super expensive. And DC proper never fully recovered from the pandemic when everyone wanted to leave the cities, like we spoke about earlier. until now, all of a sudden, the luxury market in DC has been exploding. And I think that's predominantly because of Trump and his people moving in. They just have a lot of money. So all of a sudden, the 5 million and up in DC is taking off.
Yeah, our luxury market has done very, very well also.
Subaru says the traffic is going to get worse in DC area with the new return to office policy. I'm glad you brought that up because I saw that he's mandating all of the government jobs to return to work. I think 5 days a week. I think, completely. And I don't know if that's because our commercial real estate sector has suffered so badly that they want to fill those buildings back up. But yeah, I saw that today as well. And I actually had clients that were thinking about moving to Vegas, actually. I know one of our users from Vegas, because he could work remotely. And they just called me today and said, we're not sure we can do that anymore because of this new policy, to get back in the office. I know even in my company, Encompass, they really want us all to get back in the office. And I'm like, I never went to the office before.
Right. I
mean, I have an office. It's nice, but and they're nice people and I like to be around them sometimes. But I don't sorry. People that know me knows my sense of humor. But I'm either showing houses or listing houses, or I can work from home or go to the office. But they really think culturally people produce more and more productive if they're in the office. I don't necessarily agree.
I think it depends, I mean, if you the way we work is really different. We are kind of on the move a lot,
Yeah.
but when you're in an office and working with other people in that office, that everybody kind of has their job and you all kind of work together to get one big job done. I mean, I can see how it's beneficial to all be in the office.
So I know people that are not in our business, then they also said, I got so much more done at home because I could just get it done and then do what I want to do. When I'm at the office, I'm chatting with people, we're getting coffee, we're talking around, So I don't know. Do you know why he did that policy? I don't know who brought that up. All right, let's see. Office Subaru. Why is he doing this new return to office policy? See if you can answer that. Retire early and move out of the DC area. Let me tell you, it is my dream. I got 2 kids in college starting this year. Not going to happen anytime soon. But I thank you for that. Put that into the universe. Dara, Beltway is already impossible. I know. It's awful. Traffic is awful. Slipping Jimmy. I think people need to show up for work. Boo.
I kind of don't disagree.
You don't? You think people need to show up?
Yeah, I do. I think people need to
work at home.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think there is a case for people being able to work at home, but then there's a case for people they need to get to the office.
Yeah, for sure.
And partly, I think sometimes it's that, it's mine. Sorry.
It's yours? Okay. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
No, it's that, these people are paying you. And just like you said, I'll get this done and then I'll go do what I need to do. And it's like, well, but you're being paid to work.
Yeah. I think as long as you get the job done. Sean, Moco, Maryland, what's the typical time between listing for sale and closing nowadays? Going on the market, if it's a good house price, right, to get a contract, I would say within a week, 5 days to a week. From contract to close, 30 days. But really, if it's a good house, it's really up to the seller. If they want a little more time, it could be 45 days. They might want to rent the house back. It's all negotiated. But I would say if I signed a listing today and it was ready, sometimes I have to get houses ready, it can take months. But if the house was ready to get the pictures, get it on, that takes me a week. Once it's on the market, 5 days to a week to go under contract and 30 days to close. Unless it's cash, it can be sooner. Or if the seller wants longer, then it could be longer. Slip and Jimmy, face-to-face, not over Zooms. Okay. Crypto 365, work from home is better. Sean, what number of days on the market are you seeing nowadays in the DMV? It depends on the house. It depends on the house. Like I said, these good houses, the one I just talked about, the days on market will probably show 5 because they waited to get out the 15 offers, waited till after the weekend. But houses that are overpriced, sorry, I can't read without them and I can't see with houses. I know it's problems. Houses that are overpriced, or if the sellers are greedy or they don't want to pay for professional marketing to hire a realtor and they're just slapping pictures up, they're sitting and they'll skew the days on market. But good houses in the DMV are still selling very, very quickly. And I think that's going to continue throughout the spring market. Vivek is gone. Oh, too much Dodge bromance. Don't know what that means. Probably going to help his commercial real estate. That's what I said. I don't know if it's true, but I was like, maybe, because the commercial real estate sector really was and is suffering big time. What makes some people so special to work from home when doctors, teachers, plumbers, et cetera, have to come to work? I don't think, for what I was saying, it wasn't that people were special to work from home. It was just like, if it made more sense economically for people to work from home and they got the same job done, I don't see a problem with it. But if they need to be where they need to be, and that's the way the company works better, well, then they should go to work. I don't really have a strong opinion about it, to be completely honest, except for my own job, which I can work from anywhere. Are there small houses like Ramblers in Montgomery County? Yes, there are small houses like Ramblers. Unfortunately, they're still expensive, but they do exist. They're not as common as our colonials and splits, but they are definitely do exist, and they're lovely, especially for people that don't want to deal with stairs anymore. A lot of people just don't want to deal with stairs, or they're multi-generational, having their parents move in, and they don't want to deal with stairs. And so they actually go really quickly if they're in good condition, because there's not as many as the colonial style, but they do exist. I just can't promise you that they are going to be affordable in what most people consider affordable, unless they're old. If you're okay with an older house, there are definitely some in Silver Spring. There's some in Rockville. They're older, that are older, smaller post-war, pre-war homes that would be more affordable. Do you guys have a certain style of home there, Sean?
Oh, in here, sorry.
Like, could you please?
Yeah, no. It's funny because when homes were built here a while ago, back in like the 50s and the 60s, they actually did like some slump block houses, which is the like concrete block. And then they all moved to frame, and a lot of them still were single level, which that's what we call them here. Everyone comes here and they're like, I want a ranch. And I'm like, a ranch? Like, how much acres you want? They're like, no, I want a house like all in one level. I'm like, okay, single level house. You want a single level house. Got it. But then as the land prices went up and people still needed square footage, we have a lot of 2-stories, and people get nervous about 2-stories because they're like, well, isn't it so much more expensive to heat or to air condition it? I'm like, well, kind of, but it becomes more of a problem when you've got people that are looking to buy a second home, or they're a little bit older and they're like, I don't want to go up and down those stairs for my bedroom.
Exactly. Yeah. That's interesting. I would think because of your heat, concrete would be a good building material.
It's really good, but it's more expensive because concrete's so expensive.
Right. Well, listen, Sean, my friend, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course.
I love having you. I love being on yours. I just think that, like, between the two of us, we have been in the real estate industry for 50 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That's a long time. That's a lot of knowledge, people.
I know.
Tell people where they can find you. You have your own YouTube channel. It's called, it's your name, right?
It's my name. Yep. Shawn Shackleton.
Shawn Shackleton. Guys, if you're thinking about moving to Arizona, she is located in Scottsdale and also serves Phoenix. Where else do you serve?
I did the whole Phoenix metro area, really, but primarily Scottsdale, and but yeah, I'm here. Happy to help.
She's very busy, so I'm glad I got her. And thank you all for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, consider joining us live. It's a lot more fun. 6 o'clock every Wednesday night, Eastern Standard Time. We had a great turnout today. Thank you all for joining us live. I really, really appreciate it. I get very nervous doing these things. So when you guys are here, you make it a lot more fun, a lot quicker. Shawn, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good weekend. Stay warm. It's cold here. Bye.